Welcome to Build the Weight Loss Practice of Your Dreams. I'm your host, Carol Clark, and today I wanted to talk about 3 things that struggling weight loss practices do and what they should do instead. And when I say struggling, it could be something financial, it could be making a major decision, how to ramp up, how to slow down, how to keep a qualified and caring team that's cohesive. Any struggles that you're having in your practice, there's typically 3 common responses, and tweaked just a little bit can make all the difference in the world. So the first one that people commonly would do is they'll ignore the problem. So there may be an issue with revenue slowing down or poor revenue cycling. It could be poor billing collections. It could be a team member who's not performing up to snuff or up to par and is creating a lot of different discord in the practice. There's so many different things that go on, but the one thing that commonly occurs is it gets ignored. So maybe the leader doesn't even know about it. Or perhaps they do, but they figure it'll just get better on its own. Maybe they're just figuring over time it will take care of itself, that sort of thing. But instead of ignoring it, oftentimes you will do yourself a big favor the sooner that you use your resources and address the problem head on. So if it's something financial, you could use your resources such as your chief financial officer, your accountant, your practice administrator, your partners. Really take a look at your numbers and dive into whether there is a problem. And if there is, then what can you do about it? If it's something that is just related to poor sales, get your team together. They can be some of the best people to come up with great new ideas for how to promote a special or how to come up with a special or a service that you're offering or how to correct a problem in terms of poor customer service, poor number of referrals, inability to get any sort of testimonials, that sort of thing. I'm always here as a resource. I have seen probably just about everything as a past hospital administrator, manager of perinatology, OB, and of course for the last 20 years or so, weight loss practices. I've seen just about everything, either in our own practice or someone else's practice. So if there's a problem, rather than ignore it, you will do yourself a big favor if you just address it and go at it from a problem-solving perspective. And oftentimes you end up with something far better than what you had in the past, even though it does require some effort for that. So ignoring it is not typically something that will work. Some problems do go away. Perhaps you may have some attrition of someone who wasn't a great fit in your practice and you're just grateful for that. But for the most part, it does require some action on your part. So ignoring it is one thing people do, but really use your resources and come up with a solution and tackle that struggle or that problem head on. The second thing that people can do is complicate the problem even further by adding more resources, more technology. They hear about a new program or another new resource and they just kind of keep throwing money at potential solutions without really knowing if it's going to help. And oftentimes what that really does is complicate the problem much more. And if you just paused and rather than just throwing more at the problem, whether it's more ad spend, whatever it is that you're doing, rather than more, really stop and simplify. Oftentimes, if it's a revenue issue, if you look at what's your best seller, what is your main thing that you do and you focus your efforts there and you grow that, it can be a beautiful thing. And it's something that's already in place, the system's there, and you just actually perform more of that type of surgery or that type of service or more revenue with regards to that product. So rather than always adding more resources, sometimes taking a deep breath and simplifying your process, really looking at your numbers once again, in terms of what's working well, what is bringing a better return on investment, whether it's from a marketing perspective, a service perspective, or a product perspective, taking a look at that and then simplifying so that you can do more of that can actually be a breath of fresh air versus always something new. And now, you know, I'm a big supporter of multiple revenue streams, but always having your main thing and really focusing on that, making sure that it's working really, really well before you're adding other things into the mix. The third thing that struggling practices often will do is they'll panic and just go ahead and slash things. And this can be a common knee-jerk reaction. We saw a lot of that during the pandemic. And rather than that, it helps to, rather than panic and slash, really stop, take a deep breath, look at what's the worst case scenario, but really figure out what are your options, make a plan, decide on that, or what are your options, decide on what option is best for you, set up a plan to work on that, act with confidence. Your team needs to know that you have got control of this. And more often than not, they want to be a part of the solution. So that is typically very happy. So a very happy thing for them and something, and that ends up in a great outcome. So rather than ignoring the struggle or the problem, use your resources to solve it. Rather than complicating the struggle or the problem with a lot more resources and just throwing money or people or more people at the problem, really simplifying what's working well and kind of maximize that, simplify versus complicating it with more. And then the third thing, rather than panicking and slashing everything immediately, take a deep breath, pause, evaluate what your options are, make a decision. Maybe it's the right decision, maybe it's not, but making a decision will help propel you forward and know if that's something that's going to work. And if not, then what alternatives are available to you. Make that decision, make a plan, take action, and do that with confidence. So those are some of the biggest things that I see people do when they are struggling, and how it actually keeps you from gaining success and what to do instead. If you have specific questions for me, please reach out to me, Carol, Karol, at weightlosspracticebuilder.com. I hope this has been helpful for you. Oftentimes, just a quick call, we can kind of look at what's going on and determine what options there are and where to go from there. So if you want to talk over anything, let me know. Otherwise, please involve your team. They want to be a part of the solution, as I indicated. And sometimes just having a set of ears that is partial to what it is that you're going through, a little bit less emotionally involved, can be very, very helpful. So we all have that sort of advisor in our life, and I really enjoy helping practices work through these struggles. So I hope you're not experiencing struggles, but if you are, take a look and to see if you're doing any of these three things and what you might want to do instead. And I'm always here for you. I appreciate you. If you're not a subscriber yet of the podcast, please subscribe. And I look forward to talking with you soon. Thanks.